So welcome to Fashion Innovation Review number 2. Again, this is just me at my house, no overproduction, but just want to show you my actual use of a tool that is out there in the world. So let's take a look. So this is a tool that I ran across in the fall when I saw a presentation from one of the founders. So I am using Freedom Company and some of the products that we're going to be launching this fall as just a test bed, something to have to focus on with this. So you'll notice that it's having me put in the name of the company, and it's going to ask me to load in the Freedom Company website link. Now what it's doing from that is going and pulling information about the creative direction, what do the visuals look like from our website. Now I cut this down a lot, and during this video you'll see there's a lot of periods of waiting where I cut out that time. But here it pulls together a palette, which is interesting because none of those blues are used on our website. We do have grays and blacks, and of course there's some white, but none of the rest of those colors are actually in use on the Freedom Company site. And then the fonts are also different, so interesting to see that. I loaded a visual here of a sweatsuit. Now it's slightly different, right? This one hasn't been produced yet, but has different personalization choices that people can use. So I loaded in that visual, and now it's looking at that along with the brand information from the website. And then I get this chatbot type screen. So on here I can say I want some seasonal campaign ideas, I want ad creative, I want to create a website banner. It gives me some choices for the direction to take the work that it's going to do for me. So I chose to get some ad creatives, and you'll see that it's telling me that it's going to check Google Trends. It's looking at the brand data from the website and putting together 3 ideas for me. Now, one thing that's interesting, because I loaded the website, Freedom Company is changing direction. So we're launching a new collection, we're gonna have drops, it's for a different audience. So pulling that information from the website in this case is not extremely helpful. Okay, so it's giving me some ideas. Each one has a headline, it's got a hook, it's got a few paragraphs about the direction of the creative. And it is supposed to generate for me 3 visuals to illustrate the idea. And you'll notice that in here, I think it's still running. So what you're going to see in just a minute is that the images are unable to generate, which for me, I love having the words, but I also really draw a lot of information from those visuals. So that was tough to not have those. So then it gives me a bit more information about the visual direction and what we might need. So you see it's 2 models, tells you where they're seated, what would be happening. So it gives me those ideas, but I didn't get the visuals. So now I'm going to go a different direction. I want to have it give me some ideas for photographs based on reference data that I load. So this is looking at the more visual elements. So I loaded a fast food, just basic scenery image. This is something that someone had generated for me for a totally different project, and I had it on hand. So I did that along with that sweatsuit set that we have that can be personalized to see what it would do. So it gave me, kind of flipped the image, but gave me similar to what was in it before, a woman and a younger child, and it put the hoodie set on one of the people in the image, which I thought was interesting how it chose which one to do that for. So now I'm telling it, can you make the 2 people that are at the counter high school or college age, so that we're getting into that demographic that the brand's going to focus on. And I'm saying they're close friends, they're grabbing a bite to eat together. I want to have the hoodie set on both of them, and giving it some of those additional directions just to see what happens. Like, we don't use AI generated images for Freedom Company, but I'm using it as inspiration just to go in and test this out. Okay, so then this is what I got back. So I got a boy and a girl, both in the sweatsuit. Now you'll notice on the sweatsuit that the trim on the arm, on the blue one, it ends kind of mid bicep, and then starts like at the elbow and goes around across the shoulder. So it's actually got 2 different ribbons that are not connected, or tapes that are not connected to each other, which is interesting, and not how the product is designed and not how it is in the mock-ups that I loaded. the colors are also wrong. So I loaded in colors. It's hard to see on here, but I'll put an image in. I loaded in specific photo examples of the trims that we're going to use, and those are not the trims. So then I go in and I asked it to change the color so that I could see how well it could do that. Could it swap the color on one of the people to a different color and do that well? And so it did swap the color, but you'll notice now the tape that ran up the shoulder, around the back, and down before is gone. So now it just has the tape that runs up the shoulder on that gray sweatsuit. So it did change the color, but it also changed that detail of the sweatsuit as well. And I'm gonna go in now and let's try to, and I'm trying to be specific to ask it, can you use the actual trim colors that were in the reference photo? And then I'm asking it to do better on the trim going around, because it's supposed to go, and this is in the photos, you know, it's supposed to go up the arm, around the back, down the other arm. So I'm just giving it some details to see if we can fix those fairly easily within the prompts. Okay, so it's going to generate a new photo, and you'll see now it didn't change the tape color, so those are not different. So it did not get that right. But it did now take that on the pink sweatsuit, the tape all the way up the arm, but then it still goes across the back, and those two are disconnected from each other. So this is one of the challenges I've seen that's been really difficult when I'm trying to use an AI tool when it's related to imagery or visuals, is getting those very specific details right is very hard. And it takes a lot of time to keep going in. And when you fix one thing, then something else seems to go astray. So now I'm asking it, because I just want to see how easy it is for it to do this. I'm just testing some things out. So I'm asking it to change the pose so that we can see the face on the male friend more visibly. And then it also feels like the woman, the cashier at the counter, is really leaning over, like towards them, in a way that feels unnatural. So I'm asking it if we can have her standing up straighter, and then if we can see a bit more of his face. I just want to see what it does when I give it these requests. Okay, so now you'll see she's more upright, and now he's looking to the side so we can see more of his face. So both of those things seem to work well. It did what I asked it to do, and I didn't give it a lot of details. Now I'm going to ask it if you can change the overall look of that male friend, because to me, when you're looking at this image, they look like they could be brother and sister. They have very similar hair color, similar skin tone, similar facial features. So just asking it if you can make them a bit different. And then also I want to see what it will do if I say make him a bit older. Okay, so now we still have almost the same hair color, similar facial features, but we've got a full beard, and he is obviously much older than he was in the first photo, although the body height and shape did not change, just the face. So I'm going to go back now and try to reverse that a bit and say, okay, well, let's keep him around the same age as you had him before, but maybe I'll give it a more specific direction, like make his hair darker. Let's get rid of the beard so that it has a little more direction to change that those physical features. Okay, so now he's got really dark hair. We took the beard away, and the rest of the image has stayed the same. So did what I asked it to do. Now I want to see what happens when we tell it to change the way the shot is designed. So I'm going to ask it to go in and say, if you were looking at these two friends from the perspective of the cashier, so looking out to the restaurant at them, so that we would see the front of the garments instead of the side and the back, and just want to see what it does. And then as I'm typing, I was thinking I probably need to tell it what I want to see in the restaurant behind them. So I gave it some directions about the restaurant should be pretty crowded. I didn't want it to look empty, that it should be a mixture of high school age friend type groups and children and families. And now one thing that you will notice that I haven't pointed out before, you'll see the menu board to order is on the right side of the image. they're not actually looking at it, and it's not behind them in the way that you typically get in a fast food restaurant. So, okay, so I asked it that. Now we've got that image shifting, so it's looking from a different perspective. Now it changed the two friends so that they're no longer touching, right? You know, she was like leaning on him and had an arm around him. That's not the case. They've switched places. Now you see the front of their garments. One is a hoodie and one's a jacket. It's actually supposed to be a jacket, more like what she's wearing. And the restaurant is really crowded, and it does have a mix of families and what appears to be high school age people. Interesting that the menu board runs down the whole length of the restaurant, where people are sitting underneath it, which, you know, as we know, that's not what happens in a restaurant. So interesting just to see what it changed about the visual when I asked it to take a different perspective on how we're looking at it. Okay, so then I wanted to take a lay flat of a Freedom Company product that's launching this week. And this is our Freedom 2 tee, where you have the ability to write in your own message, which I'm super excited about. But I took a lay flat of that and loaded it into the tool, and then I loaded in a reference photo of a woman wearing a pair of jeans and said, hey, give me a photograph that has this tee in white on a model that looks like they have a very similar set of jeans. And that's the direction that I gave it. And so then this is the image that I got. So it gave me, and actually instead of giving me something similar, it just took the image of the model and then put the Freedom Co. tee on it, but in a long sleeve version, which is interesting because I had uploaded the lay flat of a short sleeve tee. So overall, what you just saw in about 10 minutes was about an hour worth of experimenting and work going back and forth. So for me, I think these tools are really interesting when you're trying to explore a creative direction, but they typically don't turn out without significant amounts of prompting and work and iteration, or really like refining the background on your brand and what you want in a way that you could actually use them directly on the website. So really interesting. They've come a long way since Freedom Company first started, because we did experiment with some of them in the very early days of the brand, and they were absolutely terrible and nothing that was even remotely usable, or honestly at that point even helpful for creative direction. So they've come a long, long way. I know that there are brands out there that are using this particular tool and others like them for ads and for creative and for video and for going from sketches to actual product imagery. The thing that I found hard is getting all of the specific details correct. So if you really care about, are pockets in the right place, are things the right color, do the trims look exactly like they should be, do you mess one of those elements up when you try to make changes in another area? Those are the challenges that I've seen to be the next ones to really try to overcome.